everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington, you guys. My name is Kathryn Kauffman, and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to my every Monday night show. This is where we discover what and who we are in this journey called life. Now,
First of all, thank you all for being here as well. My name is Rachel Adult Programming Partner Kathryn Kauffman. Miss Kathryn Kauffman, all the way from Lexington, joining us here tonight.
now, with major technical difficulties today and this evening. My internet has been on and off like all day. Special shout out to Amber. How are you doing this evening? Good to see you on here. And I had set this up on a Zoom live stream and it will not go through. And I'm probably guessing it's because of all the technical issues that we've had today. Hey to Paige Denise, I apologize to those of you on the professional page. Because I was fooling around with Zoom and trying to get it to work, I did not get that page up and running. But, you know, I guess I could hop on here really quick and do that just in case people are showing up there or thinking that the professional page is going to stream. And since it's an open dream interpretation, I'm not going to put a big, description or title on there. Let's just get a stream going on there, and that way people can join in if they want or enjoy the content. So I hope your weekend was good. Let me know what in the comments what you guys have been up to this last weekend. Did anybody go to the haunted house out at Wicked World Scaregrounds? And what did you think of the haunt when you went? I can't wait to get out there. Hopefully I will have time before the end of the season. Shout out to Cynthia Preston and big kisses to Melissa Begley and her sidekick Miss Cleo. Hey to Anna Halfley and Ina Thompson. Good to see you guys tonight. And I noticed over here on Instagram, I'm losing the stream. So I'm just going to drop the idea of trying to get the professional page started. And we'll just have one stream going this evening. That's kind of pitiful, ain't it? But it's better than not having a stream at all, which is what I was afraid was going to happen. Now, my internet doesn't go down very often. We have MetroNet now, and it is so much better than the other service that we had. And when I'm uploading videos, it takes a fraction of the time that it used to. Now, I know several of you guys have submitted dreams. I'm going to present them in an anonymous fashion, but I do want to talk about next Monday night is going to be really special. Shout out to my Monday night buddy over here on Instagram, Miss Joy Hall. Good to see you. Okay, so next Monday night, here's what we're going to do. I found this at the Peddler's Mall. And that was probably one of the times we were going looking for haunted items for the haunted items hunt. Anyway, the stories in this thing are unbelievable. Now, before we cut off on our stream this evening, as if we can get to that point, if we don't drop the show, I'm going to read an excerpt out of this to get you stoked for next week, because I'm going to pick out some really scary local legend ghost story type stuff that we're going to go over next weekend for Halloween. I'm so stoked. And that'll be so much fun. Hey to Ricky Elkins. Hope you're doing okay, guy. Let's see. Melissa says mystical market on Saturday and cookout on Sunday. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Hey to Cynthia Lynch Carlson and Barbara Bacon. Big shout out to Barbara and Crystal Crazy. Good, always good to see you in with this. And shout out to Las Vegas and Jackie Brown. I hope you're doing okay. So let's jump into this with the first dream. Okay, so the first dreamer is a female. Okay, and here's her story on her dream. I was in my childhood home alone at night and I heard two men outside. So I ran and turned out the lights, and I remember sinking down on the floor to hide, but it was too late. They had already seen the light and knew that I was there. Okay, so right away we have interpreting that there's an invasive force or, invasive forces because there's more than one coming into her space or looking at her, seeing her, and coming into the space. Okay, so we have this invasive energy. Now, here's the thing. The dream starts at the childhood home, which means there's a certain age that's significant that the subconscious is drawing attention to the childhood or the childhood age at what this happened. Now, she doesn't say whether or not she's dreaming herself as a child or whether she's dreaming herself as an adult. So that might be significant too. Let's look at these other questions here. Cynthia says, why do I always dream of my son's dad who passed? It's like we are always having a good time together like before when we were together before we split many years ago. So Cynthia, that may be a way of getting you to recall and come to terms with how the relationship ended. So, like, maybe you're only remembering the relationship as one way, as the way that it was when it ended, but your subconscious is calling to the fact that at one point in time, this was a very good and positive interaction for you. And so the subconscious is trying to get you to see both sides of the coin there. Back to the original dream here. So, she's hiding, and these men see her in there. We have this invasive energy. We don't know whether she is dreaming herself as the child or as the adult. Anyway, they somehow get into the house, and they both have blood on their faces like they've been into a fight. And she remembers lots of cursing and screaming, but not so much being afraid. The thing about that is there is this invasive force, and then we have an element of violence that's being portrayed. So the subconscious is calling attention to the fact that whatever this invasive force is feels very violent. It feels very intrusive. And so their and subconscious is trying to get her to acknowledge that fact. Now, okay, so the next step, she says she in her dream is going to call the police, but she realizes that the two men have her cell phone. So this in itself recalls a sense of helplessness, and it acknowledges that sense of helplessness and that feeling that happened with this. They were mixing up something they were going to make me drink. So this kind of alludes to having to do things that we don't want to do, being forced to do something you don't want to have to do. And and because she knows that the drink is being mixed up for her to ingest and she doesn't want to. So we have this combination of feelings of helplessness along with doing things that we don't want to necessarily do. Hey to Tessa Luann Johnson, good to see you on here. Okay, so she finally just runs out to the outside street, flagging down a car with a man and boy in it, and asks them to call the police. So at this point, asking for help in the subconscious for her is sort of, it has to be a real emergency. um, which, sometimes your subconscious will flag to you to ask for help sooner. And so it's kind of alluding to the fact that, we're waiting until it's an extreme emergency to ask for help. Then she remembers talking to two policemen when the men were gone. So somehow the men get out of the house and the policemen show up. The police told me the youngest that broke in was 15 from, and she gives a certain area. Now, the age may be, um, it may be significant of something because 1 and 5 are 15 in the, it represents temptations or illusions drawing in, um not necessarily bad temptations, but just temptations that are drawing you in. Also, she indicates that she lived in that area for a period of 8 years. Now, 8 years is all significant for justice as well. So that can be significant in the dream. She'll have to message me back and see if any of this fits for her. But she remembers the town as being really quaint, and she knew where it was when the police officers were talking about it in her dream. And the other man that was alluded to in the dream that the police were talking about, there was no specific age, but she figures somebody in their 20s. So I'm wondering if she's dreaming that as she was in her 20s or maybe a similar age. And that would be significant in the outcome of this dream, but I just don't have the details. And then she remembers walking the police out, and when she comes back in the house, there's a lady making copies, and she doesn't really tell me in the dream what she's making copies of, but the woman looks like somebody she knows, and she gets a consoling feeling from it. So most likely that's a spirit guide showing up and using the image of somebody she knew from the past to try to convey this consoling type of feeling for her. And so she would have to be acutely aware of, are there other women that show up in her dreams that have the same type of feeling? And it could be that the spirit guide is just using different images that are pleasing to her to convey information. So let's see. Amber says, why do I dream sometime of when I'm trying to defend myself to hit someone in a dream? When I hit, I can't. It's so soft. Or when I try to yell for help, it's soft. Well, there's a special mechanism in play, Amber, is because if you're dreaming of acting out something and you actually act it out, let's say, have you ever seen a dog dream about running and they're doing this? Okay, so um their dream is not completely disconnected because they're actually carrying out some of the physical actions of the running. So when you can't hit or you can't defend yourself in a dream, it's because those mechanisms are deactivated to keep you from hurting yourself. So if you were to actually be able to hit, you might hit whoever's in the bed next to you because our our physical motions, there's a mechanism that turns those off when we're in the dream state so that we don't hurt anybody else and we certainly don't hurt ourselves thinking that we're running. You don't want your body to get up and start running when you're in a dream. So those mechanisms are kind of switched off when you're dreaming to try to protect you from that. And I hope that answers your question. And actually, Amber, there's another video on my YouTube channel about dream paralysis, and I go into more detail about how that works because that's kind of the mechanism that gets out of control when you're paralyzed there in that dream paralysis. Okay, let's see what we've got going on here. Okay, now this is a person who wrote in for an interpretation, and she's writing in behalf of her partner. And so, um, in his dream, and I'm sure that he woke up and told her about the dream. So this person, the male, has a little bit of depression. So a couple of nights after he agreed to see somebody about the depression, he was visited by a lady, possibly his third spirit guide, stating that she was Lisa, a guide, and that the wife needed to help him. And that was all that it was. I told my husband his guides wanted him to listen and for him to set an intent that night to communicate with them. And that's really good. And so there's another show that I did on dream incubation that really works with setting an intent and wanting to discover or find out specific things in your dreams. So what you can do is you can have a problem that you want to solve. And so what you want to do is program yourself to solve that problem in the dream. Now you already have to be pretty well versed at dream recall and maybe even a little bit of lucid dreaming in order to do the dream incubation, but it is a hugely effective way to pull information out of your subconscious and solve those really difficult problems that you're having. So let me check for any more hey to Rob Abbott, good to see you, man. I hope you're doing okay and everything's okay. I guess you're out in Ashland, maybe. Give us a holler back and tell us where you're at these days. Okay, so back to the man and woman. So the next day, the husband tells me of a visitation of the other two guides, and he was in a tower of concrete steps being led up by one of the two spirit ladies. So these are supposedly spirit guides that he has met in the past in his dreams. He reached the top where there was an opening. He was told to jump out. He did, landed to the ground without a scratch, which is unlike him to do this. So the fact, here's an analogy here, the fact that he went to counseling where he refused in the past or maybe wouldn't have been open to it in the past, that's stepping out of his comfort zone, and being told to jump and actually doing it again is a representation of him being out of his comfort zone but being successful doing that. When he looked back to the window he jumped from, he sees a flash of light. He has left and it's going off. In the outside, the metal stair railing making it very difficult to go back up the steps. So he stops attempts to go back. Both guides are on the ground with him now, walking him down a plowed path of deep white snow. I am at the distance ahead of him. He told me. He says he had on a blue shirt. Okay, this is a really great dream to interpret. So he's pushed himself out of his comfort zone, and he, out of fear, has feelings of wanting to go back, but he can't, and his spirit guides are walking him forward into the future. Now, it's significant that he has to walk through white snow. Anytime you see snow or ice or rain in a dream, that really refers to like frozen emotions or icy truths that have to be gone through before you can reach peace. Now, the fact that she's wearing a blue shirt means that he's traversing and trying to attain peace with her and with his own existence by plowing through either these icy truths or frozen things that he hasn't unthought and looked at entirely or accepted. And so this is a really good cathartic dream, and it shows a lot of progress being made by this gentleman. which is pretty cool. Now, here's the problem with the next dream. Ugh, I think I only got part of it. Yeah, I don't think I got the whole thing, but I'm gonna go ahead and no, no, that's the whole thing. Okay, I see. I skipped it there. Okay. So this is a female, and she has turned this dream for interpretation in. So she and her daughter were on an adventure to Connecticut. Now this is the dream, and they were on a motorcycle trying to get down to a place called certain something falls. Anyway, the daughter was driving and the lady was the passenger. We would take turns in roads and there would be no road signs, so we didn't know if we were going the right way, but we kept on going. So that means that there's an energy connection or an energy bond between these two people. The fact that the daughter is driving and there's no signs means that the daughter's energy may be unsure about where she's going or what she needs to do. And the mother is trying to be the back seat driver or the GPS and say, you might want to turn right here, or maybe you want to turn left here in your life. Being a backseat driver is not a bad thing. I always talk about conscious mind being the front seat driver and the subconscious being the backseat driver, and they work together to get the car where they're going, and you're the car. So we need both parts, and it feels like the daughter needed her energy to be that GPS or backseat driver. So then at one point they were in a field and it just acted like a wheel and did a big spinning circle and finally got back on the road and pulled into a town. So the mother is perceiving that at certain points things have kind of spun out of control, but they've come back in and are doing okay. So she does kind of validate that certain times things do get out of control with this. Shout out to Arthea Morgan, and Anna Halfley says, I still could I still could figure out why I was having those dreams I was telling you several months ago. Every time I tried to focus on the why, I stopped having the dream. Maybe I will eventually figure it out. I would suggest, Anna, that you try the dream incubation technique and maybe go back on the YouTube channel and find that show on dream incubation and use that and see what happens. Okay, back to this lady's dream. They spun out in the car and they're back on the road now, and they come to this very, very old downtown and they see a woman coming out of the business. And they ask, is this such and such falls? And she says, yes. Okay. Now, there was a big mountain across from the hotel restaurant where they were, and it looked like a giant old fashioned haystack, but rock with waterfalls cascading over and frozen on all sides. So they took pictures. Now, this is still her and her daughter. They took pictures. They went antique shopping, and it was getting late, and it was misty, and the sun was almost set. So now they've had a good day. There's a lot of good memories between these two people, but now we have the mist coming in. Remember what I said about water and ice and snow? These are like truths or things that we have to deal with that are coming in on and dampening what's going on in the relationship. So the daughter wants to go back to the previous town, but the mom seemed to feel like they should stay in the hotel across from the mountain because the mist was coming in, it was getting foggy. And that's when the lady wakes up and she remembers at one point telling her that she had lived in that state before she had ever thought about her, and her husband lived there in 70 and 71. So no, but they Googled the area and it actually existed. The place actually existed. So now that can be a past life memory or a past life feeling that was overlaid into the dream. So, but it does show this really heavy, nice, wonderful connection between the mom and the daughter, and that invasive emotional fog that comes in, and fogs kind of confuse and muddle situations, and you have to clear that out. You have to clear that out. So those are things that all went on in that. If you guys, now I'm doing the dream interpretation, open dream interpretation once a month. I'm going to try to do it because everybody loves that. But so if you want to turn your dream in to have it interpreted, what I'm doing is you can message me here on Facebook and also on YouTube. Message me your dream, private message, and I will present it on the show and I'll do the interpretation on it for free. And all you have to do is write it in, and everything will be given anonymously, just like I did this evening. Hey to Katie. Um, Katie, these are informative shows on topics that my clients ask me. I don't do free readings online. I feel like that the free reading on the Fun Fridays is what I give away to the public. And so, yeah, if you'd like an appointment, I'll put the link in the comment section. So now let's go on to, this is the book that I found at Peddler's Mall. And it's got really nice historical stories from Kentucky. It's called Ghost Along the Cumberland, Death Lore in the Kentucky Foothills. I have got to reach out to a friend of mine who's really big on this kind of stuff. And maybe he will come on the show with me next Monday night. And we can talk about certain things. This would be, actually, I'm going to see, it's Michael Cook. He's big into this kind of stuff. So I'll see if he'll come on the show next week. But I wanted to read you like a teaser of one of the stories, and this is the introduction to omens of death in Kentucky. So people have believed in death warnings since the dawn of recorded history. Certain motifs still in oral circulation have been transmitted across the century, and literary figures such as Chaucer and Shakespeare have plucked death beliefs from oral tradition and recounted them in their writings. But this is the people of Kentucky, the Kentucky foothills, that have been tied closely to the soil from the earliest days of the settlement during 1780s to the present time. Some of them are no longer farmers, but their memories and traditions are rooted as deeply as the land as the massive oak trees that stand as sentinels on virtually every hillside. Although many of the present generation do not really believe in the death warnings which signaled the passing of their ancestors, they do relate to these occurrences as factual, for such came down to them as truth through their family traditions. Okay, so we look at death tokens to use as a term still commonly employed in the Kentucky foothills. And apparently, if a token or an omen was not recognized in advance of death, it could be discerned in retrospect as members of the family or community searched for their recollections for strange events which transpired just prior to death. Now, in this part of Kentucky, death tokens are generally natural, causal happenings over which the human individual has no control. If, for example, one sees a cloud-shaped coffin, or if a cow bawls at night and then a death is supposed to occur shortly after. In such instances, man is powerless to change the situation and therefore submits helplessly to the decrees of the natural environment. And so that is a small teaser of death omens in Kentucky. And so I'm gonna pick out some choice, really scary stories from this book, and they will be very interesting. And it will also tell the location of the people conveying the story, which is really cool too. So I will see you next Monday night for ghost stories, ghost stories along the Cumberland, and maybe my friend will be able to join me. Who knows? Let's cross our fingers. Kisses from Kentucky, and I will see you guys next Monday night. Have a good week, you all.